So I started to pull her hair, wrap my hand around it, and it was just like, I don't know why they even let us be home alone together. Like, it was very bad. Hey beautiful, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, hi, my name is Alexis Jayda and welcome. Notification shout out goes to Sweetie223. Thank you so freaking much. I love you, I love you, I love you guys all. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. It seriously means so much to me. And if you're having a bad day, let me pick some of those bad vibes. Let me pick them all. And as I'm picking, just breathe, close your eyes, and I'm just picking, and I'm giving you some of mine. I love you guys so freaking much. If you want to be part of the notification squad, all you have to do is like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment down below. So when I do go live, you guys will be notified. So today I'm really excited because we're going to be chismeando. And I got this in the mail, y'all. This video is not sponsored. I wanted to play with this palette. This one is Matte About Hue. So you guys know the Hue palette that I freaking love. Well, they made it matte. If you guys use code Alexis, it'll save you some monies. But look at this, you guys. This whole roll right here, mira, boom, I want to play with. You guys know, well, I'm a Leo, so I love like the oranges, the purples, like anything like the maroons. I love like burnt colors. So I'm going to do a burnt makeup look. I want to kind of focus just right here. Look how beautiful. Y'all, speaking of my birthday is August 9th. It's like right around the corner. How many days? How many? Okay, it's like really, really close. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, I told you guys like I wanted to gift myself this Playboy purse. If you guys have been watching the story times, you guys know one of the Playboy purses was Andres's diaper bag. I had to sell it to get money for like diapers, formula, all of that. But I was really, really, really sad because I was constantly having to like either pawn my stuff, sell my stuff, trade my stuff, always my stuff. But it was fine because it was for my baby. I'll trade my life for them. Anyways, I was always on the hunt ever since I gave it up. I was like, I could have like tried to see if I could do this, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. Anyways, so you guys know how I'm obsessed with my Tweety birds. They're up here. Okay, the Playboy was like right there. Now I'm like, ya tengo todo. I'm good. I'm good because those are the two things that I was like always like, oh my god. Before it was like my laptop when I had to sell, and you guys know the exes. That alone is like a. I recorded stuff that we shouldn't have recorded, and when we sold this laptop to his sister's friend, let me tell you, the fucking cochinos went. I deleted everything off of that fucking laptop, and I don't know how they recovered it, but they saw everything, and it's like really gross. Like, how are you gonna watch me and your brother do stuff? Just like a bitch. And I was underage, so y'all, like, what were you doing? And they were gloating about it, which is really disgusting. But that alone will be its own story time because it was so much drama, and they are so lucky that I really don't just like. Anyways, okay, it's supposed to be a good one, Alexis. Come on. Anyways, so I always wanted like the laptop, and I was like, you know what? I gifted myself my first computer when I finally got emancipated, and I filed like my own taxes, all of that, and I bought my first computer. It was HP computer. I got it, I think it was Sam's Club. It was Sam's Club. I was with my mom, and mom was like, don't do it, and I was like, no, I'm going to do it because another story time. So I lost my laptop, right? Well, I didn't lose it. I sold my laptop, and then my mom, she had pawned my computer that she gifted me when I was around 10. It had so many memories on it. Again, this is probably gonna be like in the story time or in the book. And I was so annoyed because it had so many memories and it was mine. My mom had that mindset of like, we'll just get everything brand new. We'll walk into the store and then you guys can grab whatever you want. That kind of, mindset. So when I got to purchase my own, it filled that void. Tweety, one of the FAMBAM gifted me the Tweety, and I purchased one of the Tweeties. Void. That void filled. Now I posted you guys, and I was telling you guys like I really want to find this purse. Can you guys please help me? And FAMBAM found it. I sent her the money for shipping. I'm gonna be sending her a makeup bag too, and I got it, y'all. Like, well, I don't have it yet, but it's supposed to be here a day before my birthday. And let me tell you, when I get that, you guys, I am going to film a story time, and we are going to talk about the bag. I am so freaking geeked. I'm so freaking happy. So those voids are filled. Like, I get like, it's so freaking cool to have such an amazing FAMBAM where you guys don't know like how much you guys are like helping me, and it's so freaking crazy because it makes me so emotional, so happy. I don't want to get choked up, y'all, because I was laughing so hard when I was like, you guys are like I'm trying to cry with you, but you and that freaking elbow jerk, I was laughing so hard, y'all. But you guys, like, it seriously fills my freaking soul, where it's like, to you guys it's like, oh, it's just a purse, it's just a Tweety bird. No, it's so much more than that. Like, I have no idea. So I am so freaking excited, you guys. I can't wait for it to come and me show you guys, and I'm just so freaking excited. Thank you guys so much for all your guys' recommendations, what we should do for my birthday. We originally wanted to, you know, travel and have like a moment with the babies, but with everything going on right now, I do not want to chance it. And I'm even like rethinking of sending my kids to school. I think we're just gonna do online. It's just like so much is so scary, and I don't want to risk taking the trip because I want to be selfish and like celebrate my birthday. So I'm cool with just celebrating it in the backyard, swimming with the babies, taking some photos. I want to do a photo shoot with my babies. We did one last year. I think it was last year where like we went to the park. It was so beautiful. So I want to recreate it. And now since I've been working out, I'm almost hitting 30 days, you guys. I've been posting every single day that I've been working out. Thank you guys so much for thank you guys so much for like telling me like, Lex, you got it. Something's in my eye. The motivation you guys have been giving me is freaking insane. So I want to say thank you so freaking much. And I just love you guys. Thank you so much for all the love that you guys showed me on my previous vlog that I uploaded before this. Thank you. Like, you guys are just so awesome, and I'm so freaking excited. I will record as much as I can on my birthday, and I will try to go live. Questions I have been getting frequently is if I can start an OF account. I don't know if we can say it on here. Can we say it on here? OnlyFans? And I will look into that. A lot of you guys are saying start a Patreon. I'm going to look into that, I promise. We did recently, like the other day, I was so freaking excited. They approved us to get supers. So I was really excited about that. I was like, oh my God, because you guys are always asking me, and I'm like, but now I have answers. So we do have supers, and that is so freaking awesome. You guys never ever have to donate or send anything to me at all. I am just so freaking happy just to have you guys subscribe. When you guys do the extras, I am gratefully appreciative for it. Thank you so freaking much. And if you guys are like, oh, I wish I could send something, it's fine. And you guys just supporting me, watching me, commenting, sharing, liking, that all is amazing to me, and all of it, you guys. I'm just so happy for all of it. So let's get started. I feel like I talked enough. You guys are like, shut the fuck up. But let's get into it. Let me know what you guys are doing, what you guys are watching, what you guys are cleaning, all that good stuff. I'd love to know. And let me know your birthday. Are you a Leo? Are you a Leo? I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo. Leo 9th. Leo 9th. Okay, when I tell y'all I wild the F out. So I hit up the friend that I was originally supposed to be going with, and I told her pretty much everything that was going on. She was like, you know what, F them, hyping me up. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. F them. And I was telling her all kinds of cheese, man. But I was, because I was angry and I was mad, and she was telling me that my face looked up, and I was like, so I was just trying to have like the best time that I possibly could, and being super unsafe, hanging out with people that we weren't supposed to be hanging out. And just like, when I look back, I just want to just like pinch myself so freaking hard, so that I'm like, and I get distracted and I can't move forward. Because you know how you can't go back in time, you're not supposed to say anything, all that. I'm gonna go back and just like pinch myself, so I can just be like, oh wait, something hurts. And it's like, yeah, it's your future self trying to tell you something. Pendeja. Like, we went to a kickback, just grabbing drinks and like leaving them unattended, not thinking like, hey, this can happen, hey, that can happen. I felt like when I got into like these little rages, act outs, I acted like I was so invisible and nothing could happen. And it really pissed me off, even at the moment, because I know I was talking to myself at the moment, like, what's wrong with you? But it wasn't loud enough for me to stop. Like, I really thought like, oh, they're being really mean to you and your life is horrible. Act all the way the F out because blah, 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 right? So I was trying to justify me acting the way I was, and I shouldn't have, because I was putting myself in danger. And then if something were to happen, and even if it wouldn't have been my fault, in a way, it was my fault because I was acting up, you know? And it's really hard to show myself little X compassion at times because I get so mad because in the back of my head, I'm like, you know better. But at the same time, I have to remember I was a freaking child, and the way you think now is completely different. That's why there's that saying of like, I wish I knew what I knew. I wish I knew back then what I know now, because you do things so differently, you know? And I was just raising myself, and I didn't really have guidance, and like whoever did come in my life and show that, they were only there for so long, and they were like, "Meh," because of whatever, you know. And so it was really hard to try and stay good when being bad was just so much easier. So I was hanging out with my friends and like turning it up and like having fun. We were like dancing. That's one thing I wish I still had. I wish I still had my freaking dancing moves. Even if I, like, you know, like it wasn't even that good. Like, you guys just look dumb. I don't care. I wish I had that confidence that I did when I was dancing than I do now. Because my husband would be like, come on, babe, like, put me on the spot. And I'd be like, stop. He gets me so freaking shy. I hate it. I hate it because I get, like, so, like, stop. And I wish I wasn't. I wish I could just be like, all right, okay, yeah, you know, and just do it. But I'm always like, I don't know why. It's so annoying. I annoy the shit out of myself. But anyways, I'm having fun. I put my freaking phone on silent because I just don't care. I don't care what the consequences with Mr. Peach, Mrs. Peach, Baltimore. I don't freaking care. So I wasn't looking at my phone. All I remember is me hanging out with my friend. We'll call her Matt. Okay, we'll call her Matt. So I just remember hanging out with Matt, and she was telling me like, hey, we're gonna go to another kick it spot. You wanna go? And I'm like, yeah, like where am I supposed to go? I don't know if she was like not really thinking, because like I got no home. Like, bitch, wherever you go, I'm going with you. Like, I'm gonna surf my way through like wherever, because like I don't got nowhere to go. I don't know for damn well Baltimore is gonna be pissed if I just show back up like all stupid, right? She's gonna be like, get the F out. So I'm like, yeah. So me and Matt, again, so stupid, so stupid. We get in this car, and it is these two boys who are older. When I think back, and I'm like, what were y'all doing hanging out with freaking children? Y'all are nasty. But we always try to justify it because we're like, oh, they're cool. They got us the beer. They understand us. No, mija, no. They don't understand you. It's easy to manipulate you. That's what it is. Women can see right through them, but you're a child, so you can't see it. Ugh, it makes me so grossed out, and it grosses me out even more when I try and think about how these grown men try to justify hanging out with us and telling us, you guys act so much older than what you guys are. And we'd be like, yeah, I know, like I'm so mature. No, you're not. You're stupid. No, you're not. You're not. Lex is stupid, not you guys. Okay. We'll name one of the guys Wet, and then one Wild. Okay, so Wet was really interested in my friend Matt. Okay, so they were like talking, and Wild, he like wanted to like talk and like, oh hey, what's up, and like, you know, was like trying to like really flirt with me. But I'm so like pendeja stupid. Well, it was a good pendeja stupid because like he had no business talking to like 30-year-old dude, right? So he was like trying to talk and trying to compliment, and anytime he like tried to pay me a compliment, I'd be like, yeah, my boyfriend thinks so. And he'd be like, oh, you have a boyfriend and he just lets you like party? Which is stupid. Like, what do you mean he just lets me party? Like, are you dumb? Like, I get so freaking mad. And I really be trying to find these guys, because I'm just like, I just want to see what kind of life what are you doing right now, you freaking sick? What are you doing? Because I cannot imagine me, my age, hanging out with a young boy. Like, it's just disgusting. I don't even want to say it. Like, it's so disgusting. So anytime like I see like, oh, I hung out with that person before, I always try to see, and I'm like, huh. And some people are like, oh, like Lex, like it was such a long time ago, like you need to, no, that's disgusting. I want to see. I want to see what these motherfuckers are up to. So I was just cutting it really short, and you could tell he was like getting annoyed, where he like did like a gesture to his friend Wet, and was just like, you know, shaking his head. So me, where I already have like a little like of like liquid courage in me, you want to say, I was like, why are you doing that to him? Like, what is that supposed to mean? Matt is trying to tell me like, Lex, calm down, we're almost at the spot, like quit. Because I was always such a fireworks too. Like if something was going on at times, I'd be like, why this, why that, why'd you do this, why'd you do that? And I don't know what the heck would happen to like little Lex in the head, where it's like something can happen to you. They could pull over right now and just discard both of y'all and you wouldn't know what happened. These two grown men can take advantage of you guys, and there is nothing you can do, because at the end of the day, they are stronger than you. Just because you think you are stronger mentally does not mean you are stronger physically. And I had to keep reminding myself that at times, but at times where I was just so freaking mad, it was clouded, and I would like really want to pick fights with like grown ass men because I don't know what was wrong with me. So I'm like asking him, and he just like, you know, just puts his head back, and we're still driving, and he just ignores me. Thank God he ignored me, because I would have still kept going, I pissed Matt off because she just wanted to have a good time, and she's like, why do you act like that? Like, why can't you just like shut up? And it reminded me of Baltimore telling me like, you just never know when to shut up. So I was like, okay. So we get to the spot, and literally everyone is freaking like beautiful. All the girls are beautiful, and I just feel like I look like a thumb. I'm just like okay, so I go sit my happy ass on the couch, and I just start going through my phone. Baltimore is pissed as at me, asking me where am I at, and that I can't just leave, I can't do whatever the hell I want, and that this is what she was talking about. I got messages from Tommy asking me like, are you okay? Where are you? I won't even fight with you, I'll just go pick you up. Your mom's gonna be coming out soon, like where are you? You can't be doing this, can't be acting like this. And then I got messages from the ex asking me like, what are you doing? Where are you at? And I should have put two and two together, like Sam probably messaged him, was like, you know what, she went out, she wilding out, something, because Sam was always feeding him info, even though he would deny, and she would deny. And I always felt crazy. Like they'd always be like, what are you talking about? It's just a coincidence. No, bitch, there is not that many coincidences that happen like that. Like it's just too good for it to be coincidence. And they'd really mind me, where I'd be like, yeah, like it's just a coincidence. And then if a coincidence would happen in front of them, they'd be like, you see, it happens to you too, you see, but no, when it's me. So it was a constant like mind game. So he was like upset, like, where are you at? What are you doing? And I'd be like, I'm just sitting here, I'm not doing anything. And he's like, why are you lying? And I'd be like, I'm not lying, because I was scared. Like even though this dude put his hands on me and treated me so horribly, I craved the relationship and the love that I thought that we had, but it wasn't love. That is not love. That is, I don't know what the hell you would call that. Pittiness, I guess. So I was arguing with him, going back and forth, and then they start playing some like booty shaking music, and my friend was like, come on, let's dance. And I was like, I got this. And I was just feeling good, but at the same time, in the back of my head, I was like worried, like, oh my God, he's gonna be so mad. And I shouldn't have cared, but it was such a toxic relationship. Like it really was. I don't know how to explain it to you. I always feel like I'm always trying to like over explain it so you guys can understand. And yeah, just like understand, because I know there's some fam who are like, I don't get it. And I'm glad you don't get it, because that means that you've been in like non-toxic relationships, because it is really bad. So anyways, we're dancing, having fun, shaking my booty, and it's just really good. Now I feel two hands come beside my waist. You know how guys grab you by your waist and try to like have you dance on them? Well, that's what was happening. And I was like, and when I look back, it was wild. I see his face, I'm like, oh no. So I push down, I'm like, oh no. Matt wants to get mad and tell me like, Alexis, like stop, he's just dancing with you. And they wanted to kind of have like this like bro thing, him and his friend. You know how like when there's two girls dancing and then the guys are right there and they're like high five each other because they're like, oh, we're a bunch of perverts. That's what they wanted to do. And I was like, no. So me and her kind of get into like a little catty moment, and I feel someone tapping on my shoulder. And I look over and it's one of my friends, and she's like, hey Lex, like come chill over here. I feel like she was like a guardian angel, because she could probably see like it was gonna go left. So she was like, oh yeah, like come chill over here. And I'm like, okay. So I go and sit there, and she's like asking me like, hey, what's going on? And just being so freaking nice. Now there's some people who are like just want to be nosy and want to know the cheese mate. But she just really wanted to know like what's going on, because she could see that I was like acting out, you know? And so I tell her the whole drama, and she like tells me that I can stay at her house. She's like, babe, you can stay at my house. My mom doesn't care. She had one of those moms that would party with us. And I told her and stuff, I was like, I feel like I jinxed it because, you know, I wanted my mom to be more lenient and now she's just wilding out. I, honest to God, you guys, still to this day, think that I like manifested my mom's acting up. Like, it's like one of those things, like, be careful what you wish for, because I wanted my mom to be more lenient with me. But everything that happened, I'm like, oh my God, I should have been careful what you wish for, because yeah, I got something completely different. Anyways, so I'm like, oh, okay, like, yeah, thanks, like, I'm gonna stay with her. So I just kind of like just sit back and I'm just like relaxing, whatever. And she literally has me like on like the couch and they're having fun. Everyone's having fun. And I'm just like sitting there and I decide to text Baltimore. And I'm like, why do you want me to go back to the house? Why are you doing that, Jade? Why? You should have just left it for what it was. Like, so what? So I text her, I'm like, why do you want me to go back? You said you didn't want me to be there anyways and that I was gonna get fired tomorrow and then I gotta find out where to go. Pretty much just making sure that I send everything in that text that she had said to me, so that if something ever happened to me, then I'm like, it's your fault. So I made sure to text it like, remember you said, and you said this and you said that. She messages me back with the quickness and tells me, Alexis, stop acting crazy. I was just mad. I thought you knew, that like we cared about you, and like really was trying to backpedal on what she said, because I always think that she was stupid, but she really wasn't, because or I just thought I was really smart, but it's like, you're a child, and she seen what you were doing. She was like, I'm not gonna get in trouble. So she's like telling me just to come back and that she'll leave the door unlocked, that do what I have to do to get whatever anger that I have in my heart, but that the door is going to be open and it's up to me if I don't want to come back home. And I don't reply because I'm like, you don't mean that. And I was kind of scared. I don't know why, you guys. I really thought she was gonna put her hands on me, which I don't even know why, but I think what she made me flinch, I was scared. I'm just still sitting there and I'm texting away, and the ex is telling me like, where are you at? Like, I'll go pick you up. Like, someone said that you look like, my face looks jacked up. And I don't know if I was just having so much fun that I forgot like my face looks like like me and Stitch went 2 rounds and like your face looks beat, love. Like, what are you doing? So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't even want to see you. Like, you think I forgot about like everything that happened? He's like, no, like we can talk about it. And I'm like, no, fuck you. And I'm like literally like angry texting, and then I feel someone's booty like sit right next to me, and I look over and it's Wild. And Wild telling me like, what's going on? Like, I usually like have the girls talk to me, and like, you're just so hard to read. And it's really gross because he was like coming on very strong, where like it kind of like inside made my stomach hurt, because I felt like if I reject this man, I gotta do it nicely, because his ego is going to get hurt. And when a man's ego is hurt, some become very toxic and want to be very like and I know I had to be careful. So I don't know if it's because like the liquor was like coming down or what, like wearing off, but I was starting to get like a little freaked out because Wild was like really persistent with like trying to get my attention, and I was just like, ew, you're gross, And so I was telling him like, no, there's nothing wrong, I just have a boyfriend. Like, I keep telling you like I have a boyfriend. And he's like, but is he here? I'm like, it doesn't matter, he's here. And I'm like pointing to my phone like, he's in here, like, okay, And he's like telling me like we could just like have fun, like, is he the one that did this to you? And he's like trying to touch my face, and I'm like, And I tell him, I'm like, yeah. So he's crazy, like, stay away. And he's like telling me like, it's fine, like, want me to go get you another drink? Like, I'm not a bad guy or anything like that. Like, what is over there with Matt and stuff? And like, they've hung out with us a couple of times, like with me a couple of times, like, I'm not a bad person. And it was like really trying. And I feel like if maybe I was a little more drunk, I'd be like, okay, because he was very persistent and he was like cute. And I've told you about that. People think that perverts are like ugly and gross and like troll looking. Like, no. A lot of attractive men that I have came across are like very like pervish. So I text X and I tell him like, I'm at a party with Matt and I just want to leave. And he's like, why are you at the party? Like, he's like mad. So now he don't want to pick me up anymore. Now he's mad. I'm still trying to text him Wild is talking to me. I don't remember what the hell Wild said. I just remember being like, okay, like this dude is not stopping. So I get up because like he's mid talking to me. I get up because like I don't want to talk to him anymore. Like, dude, you're like freaking me out. So I get up and he grabs my hand and yanks me back down. He's like, yo, like I'm talking to you. Like that's so rude. And I look at him. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to talk to you. My friend that had pulled me, the guardian angel, she grabs me. She's like, she's good. She's gonna stay over here with me. And he kind of just like laughs and like walks away. So guardian angel is telling me like, hey, we should go home. We should leave. And if you need to get picked up from where I'm at, like that's fine. Like, you know, I'm gonna call my mom to pick us up. And I was like, okay. It felt like one of those things where something bad was going to happen and like the whole room starts to feel like it's vibrating and you just feel kind of tingly and everything becomes muffled. It's a panic attack. It's about to happen. And so I'm like, you know, like, okay, mom, get here. Like, I wanted her mom to get there right then and then like this because I was so scared and I was like freaking out. And she was, I think she could tell and she probably thought I was like on something because she kept like rubbing my arm. I hate being touched sometimes by certain, like, it has to be like my babies. And I love their touch, but other people's I feel kind of weird because I'm like, I don't know their intention, you know. Traumatic. So she's like, it's okay, babe, like rubbing my shoulder and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, like, you know, like, where is she? Like, she's like really far. She's like, babe, like, it's fine. Like, she'll be here in a minute. And I'm like, okay. She's like, just stay with me. So she's like literally holding my hand. And Matt is like, Alexis, come here. Because Matt is pissed that I don't want to dance with Wild. Matt is calling me and she's like, Alexis, come here. Like, I need to talk to you. Guardian angel is like, she's good. She's going to stay over here. And Matt just ends up walking over to me and she's like, hey, like, what's your deal? Like, you're totally making him feel bad. And I tell her, I'm like, I don't care. Like, he's weird. Like, he's giving me the creeps. And she like tells me like, this is why it's so hard for like guys to talk to me. And that like, I'm just like a little weirdo. Because at school even, the boys my age would get so upset that I was like really bitchy. Like, they would tell me like, you're such a bitch. Because they would be so pervertish. And I would get so like, you think you're cool? Like, you think you're cute? Like, why are you telling me that? I kind of had that like mean girl attitude, and guys would be like, yeah, do you know Alexis? Like, oh yeah, like that. She's a fucking bitch, bro. Like, I would always get that. And I'm cool with that because when I look back, it's like, it's because you guys were nasty and I wasn't cool with what y'all were doing. Like, and I wasn't like telling you guys all my stuff, you know? So I tell her, I'm like, well, I'm sorry, Matt. Like, I don't like him. Like, I have a boyfriend. She's like, when that beats up on you. And I was like, okay. And like, I love him. So stupid. So she's mad that she pretty much can't pimp me out to Wild. And she's like, we got a ride from them. And I'm like, and she's like telling me like, well, Alexis, like, what the hell? Like, you can at least hang out with us. Like, why are you being such a bitch? And I'm telling her, I'm like, dude, like, I am going through a lot and I don't like him. Like, he makes me feel weird. Like, he is such a weirdo. Like, I don't like him. And she's like telling me that, like, what's the big deal? Like, I can just dance with him. Like, he's not asking me to like do anything with him. Like, why am I being such a weirdo? So I get annoyed with her and I'm like, don't talk to me. And she's like, excuse me? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you wanted to hang out with me? And I'm like, okay, like, maybe okay, let's take his creepy age out of the situation. I could see where it's like, hey, you're trying to be a wing girl, whatever, you're being my wingman and you're gonna make me look stupid, but we're gonna put age into the thing because like, dude, yeah, it's weird. And even if it wasn't the age thing, it's still weird. Like, why are you gonna put that pressure on somebody like that? Like, I totally get it to a certain extent. Because I remember I had told my friend like, hey, you wanna kick it? And the ex like brought his friend and my friend wasn't feeling him and she was like, it was such a weirdo. I'm like, why are you being so rude? Because she was being kind of like very rude. But then I was like, oh yeah, like, okay, if you don't like him, you don't like him. And I got into an argument with like my ex and stuff because I'm like, she doesn't like him. And he was like, well, she ain't all that either. And I'm like, okay, to you, because like she pulls lots of dance. And we got into an argument and I had to like understand because like I remember feeling pressure from the ex, like how come she doesn't like him? And I remember feeling his pressure. So I was trying to feel Matt's pressure, but I was just like, no, like it's weird. Like, I have been nice, I have been like friendly, but he's weird. Like, it's gross, it's weird. So she ends up telling me that like I'm being a bitch and I'm like, okay. So then guardian angel was like, come on, Alexis, my mom's here already. And I'm like, thank God. And as we're walking outside, Wild is having a cigarette and he's talking to somebody already. And I'm like, so I yell back at Matt and I'm like, hey, he's good. Like, he's talking to somebody, like he's good. And she just looks at me and like flips me off. And I'm like, okay, bye. I could see how she probably felt used. Like, she just wanted to hang out, go to like this kickback to another kickback, and she's gonna act like this. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, no, like it was like a bad situation, and people, just because like you give a friend a ride or you hang out with a friend or you like whatever, they don't owe you anything to like, you have to hang out with this person. Like they can't force you to do stuff like that, you know? And at times I would feel pressured, like I have to hang out with this person, but you don't, like you don't. And even times now I have to remind myself, like you don't have to do that. Like my husband has to like tell me, babe, just because like we can leave, like you know, you sit at a restaurant and like let's say that the waitress is like very shitty or whoever, I still feel like I have to stay because like I already got my drinks, I already like, you know, I have to stay, I already put my food in. But my husband has taught me like we don't have to stay. Like if they're being fucking rude, they're probably spitting in our food, like we can leave. And like for the longest I would feel like no, we can't, like we already ordered. No, you can leave. Or like if you order food through the drive-thru and like the lady's responding rude or something and you're like, can I get number one? Okay, forward. And I'm like, I'm not done yet. We can leave. I would feel like I still had to stay. And my husband's like, no, we're gonna go somewhere else. And so I'm learning how to like fix that now, but holy crap, it was so hard back in the day. I would feel like I am stuck. I can't move. And I'm sorry if you guys can hear the fan, but it's hot in here. Sorry about that. That was like one of the times where I was like, I don't want to. And she was pissed because she, I don't know, maybe she was getting pressured by wet or what, but and his friend was weird. Anyways, so Guardian Angel's mom picks us up. She gets us some betos and we go back to her house and we're just chilling. Mom's cool. She's just like, oh, hey, what's up? And I would hate when moms would tell, like when moms would meet me and they'd be like, oh, you look like you can fight. I hated that compliment. I hate it at times. At times I would be like, yeah, to get really excited about it. But other times I didn't like it. I remember one time my friend, I met her mom for the first time. She's like, ooh, you look like you can fight. And it was like such a compliment because I was like, oh, thank you very much. But then other times it just felt like, because you probably think like I'm a badass kid and I'm not. I'm just really misunderstood. So she told me that. I was like, and then Guardian Angel starts laughing and she's like, Mom, you got any Neosporin? Because my face, y'all, my face. And my nose was like cracked, really ugly. So we're just hanging out and actually just having like a really, really good time. I ended up sleeping over at her house. I ended up sleeping over at her house and it was like no big problem at all. I wake up the next day and it's Mrs. Peach calling me like back to back. Like that bitch let it ring, beep, and it called me again. And it was just, I was scared because I didn't want to hear the drama that was going to come from what was going to come out of her mouth. I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to deal with it, any of that. I was just like pretty much just like over the whole situation. And I didn't want to get scolded for not wanting to be there because it was so annoying how they wanted me just to be there and not want to hear me out because like she threw a whole ass bone on my nose and it felt like even if I was defending myself, I'm still in the wrong because like I know better. Get up and Guardian Angel is like asking me like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like telling me like I can stay as long as I want and stuff, but she's gonna get ready because she's gonna go over to her dad's house. And I'm like, oh, okay, cue, like hurry, get ready because like I got to dip, you know? Like no one should have to tell you like straight up like, all right, well, get going. You just have to read the room, and I read the room. I just get ready and I tell her like, oh yeah, like my ride's here. I didn't have a ride. And she's like, oh, okay, you sure? Like, you don't need my mom to drop you off anywhere? I was like, no. Her mom was still sleeping and I just dipped. And I shouldn't have because like, Alexis, what are you doing? It wasn't like she was forcing me out, but like I always got like, okay, I'm gonna go right now. Like I'm just gonna leave because I never wanted to like overstep. And me and Guardian Angel, we didn't really kick it like that for me to like take advantage of her not take advantage, but like I didn't want to go overboard, you know? So I get to walking. I don't know where the hell I'm at. I'm just walking. And my phone is still going off from Mrs. Peach. She's not messaging me though, like, hey, where are you? She's just calling back to back, just calling, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather her just keep calling and me not answer than her message me, because I feel like if she messages me, I'm gonna call her back and be like, yes. So I'm just walking. I literally don't know where the hell I'm going, y'all. Like I am just walking. Like I don't know where I'm going. And walking and walking and walking. And Baltimore calls me. She's like, Alexis, where are you? I'll go pick you up. We're getting really worried about you. You shouldn't have left. You have us worried. Can you please just tell me where you're at? You're not in trouble. Please let me pick you up. I respond to her message because I don't know where to go. I'm like, okay, you really don't have options. And even though Tommy still was like you know, like she was going to like handle them if they put their hands on me, I still didn't want to go and stay with her. I know it's probably like, oh, Alexis, like why did you do that? Because I was a kid and I didn't want to go back with Tommy. And I just know if I would to went back, like it would just be drama because she would still be mad, and the people that she was hanging out with, I just didn't like them. I just didn't like them. So I tell her where I'm at. She's like, okay, like stay there, walk inside like the Smiths, and like I'll be there in a minute. So I go inside the Smiths and I'm like literally walking like through all the aisles, and Baltimore calls me, tells me to come out, and I'm like, are you with Mrs. Peach? She ignores me, and I'm like, I don't know why I was so scared of Mrs. Peach. I was like, oh my god. So as I get outside, I see that Mrs. Peach is in the passenger, and I'm like, oh, great. Like, what did I expect? I just didn't want to deal with her. Like, I really didn't. And I just didn't like her. Like, the more that I think about it, I'm just like, why did you put up with so much? Like, it's annoying. I look at them both, and Baltimore does look concerned. Like, she does look concerned. She's probably thinking, like, what the heck happened? She was probably really surprised that I didn't come back at night. And was just, you know, probably like, what the heck? We broke her. So I get in the car, and Mrs. Peach turns like this to me. She like asks me like, what's wrong with me? Like, why did I have them up worried? And I just like get quiet. Baltimore tells her like, yeah, like leave her alone. Like, I'm just glad that she's okay. Like, let's wait until we get back to the house. And Mrs. Peach is like, ugh. They're just quiet. It's a silent drive back home. And as soon as we get home, she's like asking me, how can I be so selfish and leave like that, especially, you know, leaving the door unlocked, because she had the door unlocked. So she's like, at night something could have happened. And I respond with my smart ass, but nothing did. And she goes, Alexis, are you serious? Like, that's not the point. And I'm like, okay, then what's the point? I don't know why I was being so sassy. I don't know why I was being so sassy. I don't know if it's because like I felt like since I seen Baltimore's face that they looked worried that like I could like catch an attitude. I don't know what the heck. I don't like how this is coming out. I don't know what the heck I thought or what, because even when I said it, I was like, and she just looks back at me, and she's just like staring at me. Like, she would do this stare where she was trying to intimidate, and sometimes it would work because it would make you want to change what you said, and you would like re-say it but like differently. But it wasn't working this time. It usually would work and I would fix what I say, but I was just like, because I was just, I don't know, I was rebelling something. We get inside. Baltimore asks me like if I'm hungry, like if I like need anything, and she goes to get like the first aid kit. Now my face probably looked really bad because like I remember it looking bad, but you know how like when someone else is like, oh, you look, oh, why is this wet? Like, oh damn, then you're like, okay, yeah, I must look bad if you're having that reaction, right? So she goes to get the first aid kit, and she's like talking to me, but at the same time like putting stuff on my face. So I had a mark right here, and I had a mark right here, like where she like threw it, like, okay, and then my lip was busted, so I looked like really crazy. So she's like talking to me, she's like trying to fix me. Mrs. Peach is like grilling me with like questions, like what happened, what were you doing, like you smell, like I smell like alcohol and stuff like that, that like I can't just be like out like giving anyone my body. And I'm like, who said I give anyone my body? And so like me and her are like kind of like bickering back and forth, and I'm like, not everyone just goes out and like just gives away their body. And she's like, I need to think smarter, that I could get diseases and stuff. I'm like, who says I had sex? And then she's like, oh, I'm pretty sure you did, that's why you were out and stuff. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure, but no, like it's my body. And she keeps telling me like to be careful how I'm saying things and how I'm talking to her, because I am in her house. I'm like, your house or Baltimore's house? And it was like I should have just shut up, but I could not shut up. And when I tell you like this is like me like rebelling a little bit, I was scared the whole time. And Baltimore kept like looking at me like trying to look at me like, is she okay? Like she even put her fingers to my forehead because she probably thought like this bitch is having a fever, like she's sick or something, because like I would not stop. And even though she kept telling me like, Alexis, I was like, Mrs. Peach, but like I said her name, and she was like, don't say my name like that. And I was like going back and forth, and she's like, I don't know if it's because like you never been disciplined. I was like, oh yeah, because I don't have a mom and I'm gonna rotten apple. And I was looking at Baltimore, and Baltimore, oh, I was gonna say her name. Baltimore puts her hand on me, and she's like, I'm sorry for what I said. Like I told you before, like sometimes I just say things out of anger, because you know, I feel like she, just because she was like bipolar, she felt like it was an excuse for her to like pop off and say like really nasty shit, and then be like, I'm sorry, it's because like I'm sick. And it wasn't like a good enough excuse for me, because I'm like, no, like you won't be below the belt, like you were trying to like hurt my soul. And it hurt, y'all. Like it really did. Like for the longest I felt like I was the problem. And even up until I started doing story times and you guys were like, Jade, no, like I honestly would like really think like I just like attracted like these negative ass people, and I thought like, okay, like it was normal and I should tolerate it in a weird way, because like people have it so much worse than to have like an evil person like in their life, you know. But mental abuse is still something, like it really is. And I feel like people are like, oh, but like you never got hit. But it's like, shit, some of us wish we did, because it would have like, it wouldn't have lasted longer. Because when people are mentally abusive, you literally repeat everything they have ever told you in your mind. And I feel like when I would get my ass beat, it would sting for a little bit, or like I would have flashes of like, you know, getting hit, but I feel like in a weird way it didn't sting as much as the mental. Me and Peach are like still going back and forth, and she's telling me like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, nothing. Like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, nothing's wrong with me. I'm like, are you sure? So we were just like that, right? And she's like telling me like, let me see your face. And she grabbed my face very roughly, and I just kind of like moved, and she's like, let me see your face. And I was like, okay, but don't touch me. And Baltimore's looking at me like this, like what is wrong? Because of how I am talking to her. But I was just so fed up, y'all. And she's looking at my face, and she's like, so what, you tell me what happened. And I'm like, about what? And she's like, well, obviously about what happened between you and Stitch. What else are we talking about? And I'm like, well, I don't know, because like you would start talking out of nowhere, like how am I supposed to know like what you want to talk about? Because she would always do that. We'd be like, nothing, we would be doing nothing, and she would randomly just start talking about something, and she expected me to know. So it would irritate me. So I was like trying to pick a fight with her. She asked me what happened, and I'm like, didn't you see it on the tape? And she's like, does it matter? And she's like pretty much telling me that she wants to make sure that what I'm telling her lines up with the video. And I'm like, I already told you, and you guys just don't want to listen. And she's telling me that like Nars wants to talk to me. I'm like, I don't want to talk to Nars. And she's like, why don't you want to talk to her? I'm like, because I don't. And that's what I really hated, is when like other adults expected you just to talk to other adults just because they were older than you, and like you're supposed to respect them. Like I hated that. Like, what if I don't want to talk to them? Like, what if I don't like her? Like, why should I have to talk to her? For what? Like, for what reason do I have to talk to her? Like, her kid put her hands on me. I don't want to talk to her. And this is what made me a very difficult child, because I remember being like this with my grandma too. If she thought I did something wrong and I didn't, I was like, nope, I don't want to talk to her. And my mom would tell me like, let's just talk to her, apologize, even if she would say, you think you're right. But my grandma wasn't always right. My grandma was just so used to having things her way. Her being an elder came with a lot of respect in her day. And I was just so mad because I was pissed off. Like, all y'all failed me. So I don't want to have to show you that respect or that loyalty, because what was y'all's loyalty to me? Like, y'all still have this man that hurt me at your dinner table. You do his laundry. I don't give a fuck if he pays you to do his laundry. It's a thing of you still doing it. And like, this is why no one really took it serious when I said like he hurt me, because you guys allowed him to feel so comfortable and still feel so comfortable to come and go as he pleases. So it was really, really, really hard to want to talk to adults sometimes when I felt like I didn't owe them anything, you know? Oh no, now I have to cut. Oh no. So yeah, anyways, it was really hard for me to want to talk to adults, especially if I'm like, no, you're wrong. Like, sometimes I would show the respect and be like, okay, like I have to listen. But then when I would get on these, I don't know what they're called, I don't know what to call them, I'd be like, no, f you and your mom. Like, I don't want to. I don't owe you anything. And I didn't want to talk to Nars because I didn't really know her, and just how she was very like, don't touch my kids again. I really was like, she's going to put her hands on me and they're not going to do anything to stop it. Baltimore and Mrs. Peach over here slapping the shit out of Sam whenever they feel like it because she acting up. I don't know how like this person rolls or like what they think or anything. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to talk to her. And she's like, what makes you think that you can say no? And I was like, because I don't have to talk to her. She just kept looking at me, and Baltimore is like, it's okay, like I will be there. She's like, what do you mean it's okay? She's like, yeah, she doesn't want to talk to her for some reason, and I'm telling her like it's okay. So they start arguing, and I'm just like sitting there. I text Tommy back, and I tell her like, I don't feel comfortable going back with you, but I do want to go back. I just don't want to go back now until like my mom is out. And she's asking me why, and I tell her like, because I don't feel safe. And she tells me like, can you tell me why you don't feel safe? And I'm like, yeah, because of like this, that, and that, like everything that she's done. And she just replies back, Kate, and just to let her know if anything happens that she'll pull up and stuff, just to send her the address when I feel comfortable. So I'm like, okay, thanks. So that was a relief, because like I didn't want to be on bad terms with Tommy, and I needed her to come through if something were to pop off, because these people were crazy. So Baltimore kind of changes her tune when she's like talking to me about like what happened, and tells me like I just need to keep my hands to myself, and that I could have just called them when she threw that in my face. And I'm like, no, like you guys don't understand how much it hurt. And she was telling me that like I need to do better at self-control, because my anger is not going to get me far. And I was telling her, I was like, okay, but, and she's like, Alexis, there's no buts, and you need to understand that. So I just stopped, because I'm like, obviously, like, I'm not going to get through to her. She's not going to get through to me. And then I don't want to hear her no more. Like, I just want her to stop talking to me, like, right now. So I just tell her, I'm like, okay. And she gets up and leaves. And I ask her, I'm like, so am I fired? Do I stay? And she tells me that she's going to talk to Mr. Peach, but that they are thinking of just, like, letting me stay here until my mom gets out. And I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, what a relief, because I have nowhere to go. And I don't want to go back and stay with them. Like, I'm cool with staying with Baltimore, even though we don't like each other. But I'm like, I'm cool, because I have a feeling like me and Stitch will go at it again, just because of the he said, she said. She was pretty much saying that I had ruined the couch. Mr. Peach and Mrs. Peach watched the video, and they kind of see that like it was both our fault, but I'm the one who knows better. So, and they're the guest, all that, right? So she leaves, and Baltimore asks me like, what the fuck is wrong with me? They're like, why do I think I can talk to her like that? And I'm like what? Like how she's talking to me? And she's like, no, something's wrong with you. The good girl that I know, but it sounds different when you say it in Spanish. Pretty much not the good girl that she knows and stuff. Like, what happened? And I look at her and I'm like, really? Because I'm dumbfounded. Like, y'all really treat me like this, and then when I like act out, you guys are like, what's wrong with you? Y'all are what's wrong with me? What are you talking about? So she tells me to get cleaned up, take a shower, all of that, and to expect Nars to come by, because that she probably is going to come by, and that I do need to talk to her. I just didn't understand for what. Like, why do I need to talk to her? Like, for what? For what reason? I don't know. Like, why do I need to talk to her? So I was like kind of scared, and I think Baltimore could see it. I kept telling her like, for what? And she's like, I don't know. Like, she just wants to talk to you, like probably about everything that happened. Like you know, look, your face, I can just imagine Stitch's face. And I'm like, okay. And like I want her to leave me alone. Like, guys, when I tell you I felt so uncomfortable, like it felt like, oh, the proposers are gonna come get me. Like, I literally felt terrified, because of like the type of mom that like she already had showed me, like how she like hit Stitch, and like how she was very like, I was just scared, y'all. I was like I really thought like they were gonna let her beat on me for some reason. Like, I don't know why, but like I just felt scared. Like, I literally felt scared. Like, I wanted to run away again. So I tell Baltimore, if she comes over here, I'm leaving. Like, I'm leaving. Like, I don't feel comfortable. And she's like, why? Like, what's wrong? Like, I don't know what it was, you guys. Like, I was having like a weird panic attack. Like, I did not want to be there. Like, I was really regretting putting my hands on Stitch, because I was really scared like her mom was gonna come in like me. So y'all, I felt sick. I felt like I was going to get beat. I was terrified. I don't know what was wrong or what, but I just remember Baltimore just like looking at me like, Alexis, like, it's going to be okay. Like, what do you think is going to happen? And when you get so scared, like when you get triggered, you like can't snap out of it. Like, it doesn't matter what anybody says. Like, it's very hard to like calm yourself down. And I'm like, no, like, I'm not gonna be here. I don't want her to talk to me. And she's like, what do you think is going to happen? And she keeps trying to like, you know, like relax, like to calm me down, like relax me. And I'm like, like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do, I don't want anything to do with this family. And I start to like talk like a lot of like mumbo jumbo all over the place, where I'm like, no, like I don't want any of this, like I don't like, you get like I don't like, I'm not like going everywhere, like I can't control myself, like I am having a very, very extreme panic attack. And she's like, Alexis, she starts to cry, where I guess I was like freaking out so bad, and she feels bad for me, so she starts to cry, and she's like, mija, like relájate. And I'm like, no, like I'm like freaking out. And all I remember, you guys, is waking up the next day. Like I don't know what happened. It's like a blank to me, where I was so freaked out. I think I just like blacked out. I don't know what happened. I just like blacked out. All I remember is waking up, and it was the next day, and me looking over at the clock and like seeing the time, and it was like butt ass early. And I was just like, what the fuck? I was so scared, because I was like, I didn't drink. What the heck happened? I just got so freaked out that like I blacked out. So I wake up, and I'm like, what the hell? Like what's going on? I'm really trying to like remember exactly what happened, like details, all of that, because I have never really experienced that. And this is going to be a TMI, but I've only done this like a few times in my life. And when I went to therapy for it, she would explain that it's from trauma and other stuff, but I don't want to speak about that. But anyways, I noticed that I wet the bed, and I am very like, and just like confused of everything that happened, right? So I go to the restroom, and I'm trying to clean up, threw out my underwear, and I'm just like trying to figure out what happened. I go out and I find Baltimore, and I tell her like what happened, and she just said that like I pretty much like just like exhausted myself, and I just passed out. And I don't know what to say. I'm just very like okay, and I asked her if anything happened. She said no, and that she just like let me sleep, and I'm like, you carried me? Because like there were stairs and stuff. And she was like, no, like Mr. Peach came by and took you upstairs. And so I'm kind of like, okay, so I ask her if I can change, or if she has an extra pair of shorts or anything like that, and she doesn't even ask me why. I have a feeling that she knew, like at that moment I had a feeling that she like kind of knew, but she just didn't want to like embarrass me, maybe, I don't know. So she tells me that yeah, and that I can use the washing machine if I need to. So I'm like, okay, yeah, she knows. So I go put the stuff in the washing machine, and I just feel like embarrassed, y'all. Like I can't believe like I cried in front of her, that I got like so scared. And then I'm like mad, like why am I so scared of this adult? Like what the, and Mr. Peach being there, I'm like mad that like I wasn't awake when he came, because I'm like, who knows what happened? And right away like your mind starts going to like, what if something happened? And that's why like you wet the bed. And I don't know what happened, y'all. Like I don't know what happened. I don't know if it is just because like I did like just like go to sleep, or I don't know. So I get nervous, and I'm just kind of like in my zone, like by myself. And I kind of just sit there, and I start going on my phone, and I'm like texting the ex and stuff, like just like talking to him, and we're acting like nothing happened, right? And he's saying he wants to see me, and Sam messages me, and she asks me like, hey, is everything okay? And she's like having like a different attitude. Right away I'm like, oh, they're probably gonna be leaving soon, that's why this bitch wants to like be like buddy with me. She's probably like, oh, like are we cool, you know? So I just reply like yeah, like really short, like yeah, because I don't want to sit there and talk to her, and I don't want her to think that like things are good, because she was very flippy floppy and only wanted to talk on her time, which was like really annoying. I don't know why she was like that. I don't know why she had that sort of attitude. Like I hate when people get like that. Like why can't you just be normal? So Baltimore comes over, and she asks me that like if I'm ready, that like she's going to take me over to the beaches. And I start to get like really weird again, where I'm like breathing funny. She gets kind of like snappy with me. It's like, Alexis, quit, like you're going to go over there, I'm gonna bring you back, you're gonna stay with me, like stop. And I'm like, okay, because I don't know why, you guys. I don't know why I was scared of NARS. I don't know what I thought, or like what, like I don't know like what my little brain was thinking like if she was really going to square up with me. But it was like I was so terrified, and I think it's just because I kept replaying how she kept telling me like don't put your hands on my daughter. And so I kept thinking like what's gonna be the consequence? What's gonna be the consequence? Because like I beat your daughter's ass. What's the consequence? So we were just waiting for my laundry to finish, because what she had gave me was like, I can't walk out with that. I keep repeating y'all because like I want y'all to know like how nervous I was. Like your girl was super duper nervous. Like I kept thinking like I'm gonna be my makeup. I'm gonna be my makeup. Like I was so nervous. So as I'm nervous, I don't know if it's because like Sam could feel it or what, but she was messaging me asking me like, hey, are you good? And I tell her, I'm like, yeah, you already asked me that. And she's like, hey, just checking. I don't know why or what, but she wanted to check to see if I was good. So I'm like, yes. And she just replies like, I'm just checking, geez, and kind of wants to like be mean. And I know she probably wants to repeat like, this is why, because they love telling me that when I would be like, why are you being weird, right? So time passes, clothes are done, and we get in the car, and yo, I feel so uncomfortable. Like I want to cry. I can't explain it. Like I want to cry. Baltimore can see that I'm feeling uncomfortable, and she keeps telling me like, it's going to be okay. And I'm like telling her like, I don't know why I'm scared. And I tell her like, I don't know why I'm scared. And she kind of like chuckles, and she's like, you being scared the way you're acting with, you know, with Mrs. Peach yesterday, that she wouldn't believe me. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm scared. So my phone rings, and I already know like it's my mom. I just had that feeling, and sometimes it kind of freaked me out like when my mom knew like I was worried or something, because she would call at those times. So me and my mom are kind of like brujas, and she called me and she was like, you know, like, hey, how's everything? And I start to cry. She's like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just feel scared. And Baltimore's right there. She's like listening to me freak out with my mom. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just scared. Like, I got into a fight. My mom was like, what? Who? What? I was like, let me talk. Because like my mom wouldn't ever let me talk, because she'd always go to like 0 to 100. And I can understand it because she was in jail, and she's like, what the hell is going on, right? But my mom was always like that, even out and about. Like when she was out, she'd always just like pop off, and it would not want me to tell her anything, because she was just 0 to 100. And I told her, I'm like, I'm fine. I just fought with the girl, and I'm like telling her everything. My mom's like, you better go with Tommy. Like they better not put their effing hands on you, Jade. And I'm like, stop. Like, can you just let me talk? And so my mom tells me that like, do whatever the you want. Just make sure that they don't put their hands on you, Jade. Do you hear me? And I'm like, yes. So I'm getting annoyed with her, because I'm like, damn, like I just want you to listen. But how is she supposed to react, right, when like her kid's crying to her and she's in jail and she can't do anything? So she gives me some advice, tells me like to stop, that like, okay, I don't want to go with Tommy, but like I need to quit, and that to like hold it together since I want to be there, toughen it up, and to stop, because I do have an out to go to Tommy, which she was right, I did. But I didn't want to go to Tommy. So I'm like, okay, like talking to her, and she's like getting kind of annoyed with me, and you could like hear in her tone. I'm like, okay, mom, I love you, bye. And so I get off the phone with her, and Baltimore is like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, she's gonna be getting out within the next couple of days, and she's gonna want to talk to you guys. And she's like, for what? And I'm like, because of everything. So as we end that discussion, we're pulling up to the Peaches. So we literally pull up, and she's like, we'll talk about it more when we're done. And I'm like, okay. Y'all, I was like, I don't know what I thought. I don't know what. I was just like trying to calm myself, like, Lex, stop, Lex, stop. Because I was so scared. Like I really thought I was going in and they were just gonna be like, I don't know. And I really hate that like I couldn't shake this feeling off. Like I was so irked at myself, because I was so scared, and I did not want her to see that like she scared me, because I hate that. And I hate when like people know that you are scared of them, so they think they have one up on you. So we walk in, and Nars is like serving her kids and stuff, and she's with Mrs. Peach. I don't know if her seeing my face surprised me, because like how I looked and how like I was all scuffed up or what, but she looked at me, she kind of like got her eyes big. And then I make my eyes towards Stitch, and Stitch doesn't look as like the best either. And she looks at Stitch, looks at me, and she kind of just like shakes her head. And I'm like pissed off in my head, because I'm like, why the fuck are you shaking your head for, bitch? Like, and what? But at the same time, I was scared. I don't know why. I was scared, y'all. So Baltimore walks in, and they don't even really acknowledge each other. I don't know what the beef at the time was with that, but they didn't even acknowledge each other. She tells me to sit down, and so I just sit right there. Mr. Peach tells me that if I'm putting stuff on my face, and I tell him yes, and he tells me like if I had a good night's sleep, and I kind of get like a because like me wetting the bed, right? So I'm like, yeah, and he's like, good. So they go on, and I literally sit there. Like hours pass, y'all, and like I'm just sitting there like interacting with the kids, all that, but I'm literally just sitting there, and like nothing's really going on. Nars is not even like talking to me or anything, and I keep thinking like, why the fuck am I here if no one's going to like talk to me or like any of it? Like, why am I wasting my time? I felt like they had me stressing and were enjoying me feel uncomfortable, because like they were talking amongst themselves, looking over and like shaking their head, and my anxiety was like freaking out, where I'm like, why the fuck am I here? Like what? Like what? Like, oh my god, like just get it over with. Like it literally felt like they were just like taunting me, and I just wanted it to be done with. I didn't understand like why I was there. Phone rings, I answer it, and it's Tommy. I don't even really look at the who was calling. I just like answered it. I just hit like, you know, answered it. It was Tommy. She was like, hey, are you good? I'm checking in, like your mom called me, and like, are you good? Like, are you stressing? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm okay. I'm like, it's because like I fought the girl, and I start crying again, y'all. Like I don't know what the heck it was, and I think Tommy hearing me cry, she knew that like, your girl's stressing. Like I am stressing. And she tells me like, why are you scared? Like what's going on? And that if I was gonna start my period soon. Are you pregnant? Asking me all the questions. And I'm like, no, like I don't know. Like they brought me over here because I'm staying with the other girl. And she's like, and like just listening, I'm telling her like all the cheese, man. They can kind of hear me, because you know how you can see like someone's like listening, like their back kind of like shifts a certain way. Okay, well they were doing that. And she's like, so why are you there? And I'm like, because I guess the mom wants to talk to me. She's like, why the f does the mom want to talk to you? And she's like, are they being mean to me? Are they making me feel uncomfortable? And I'm like, no, I feel uncomfortable, but I don't know if they're trying to make me feel uncomfortable. So like, I'm making sure to say those things out loud so they know. And Nars is like looking at me, kind of just like trying to listen, like, because her face is making like the listening face, you know. And she's like, well, keep me updated. And I already told you, like, if they get close to you, do this and do that. And then to like either call her, or if I don't want to call her and like I really feel uncomfortable, to call like 911 and to have them like on speaker, whatever, and to let them know that if they don't want me there, like she could pick me up and stuff. And she's like, and you're gonna have to toughen it out. Like I don't know why you don't want to be over here. And I'm like, you know why? And I'm trying not to say much because I don't want them to like hear and be like, huh, you know. So she's like telling me that she needs to go do some stuff, but that I can call her if needed. And I'm like, okay, thanks, Tommy. And I hang up with Tommy. As soon as I hang up with Tommy, Nars is like, can we talk? And I'm like, doof. I look over at Mr. Peach and Mrs. Peach, and they look at me and they're like, you can't talk? And I'm like, yeah, I can talk. And she's like, okay, let's go outside. And I'm like, okay. So we go outside, and she tells me that she's not mad at me. She just wants to know why I keep putting my hands on her daughter. And in my head, I'm like, why is your daughter putting her hands on me, bitch? Because I really didn't like how she was talking to me. Like if I just went up to her daughter and was like, you know, or like if she didn't see the tape or any of it. And my voice is like shaky, y'all, like shaky. And I'm so pissed off that it's shaky. And I tell her, I'm like, I hit her out of self-defense. And she said, but she didn't hit you. She threw the phone at you and it happened to hit your face. I'm pretty sure she wasn't mean to you. And I was like, but she hit me. And she like looks at me and I'm like, she hit me. Because I don't care. Like I hate those type of people where it's like, did they throw it or were you just in the way? Like, she hit me. Point, period, blank. She hit me. I don't care if this or that. She hit me. And she like looks at me and she tells me like, well, I'm sorry that she threw the phone and it hit you. And I'm like, she intentionally hit me. And she kind of just like looks at me and she's like, I don't like that, you know, you resort to violence. And I was like, and your daughter? And she's like, yeah, the both of you guys. She's like, I want us to be able to have a good time. She's like, obviously you're part of the family because the kids really like being around you. And after talking to Mrs. Peach some more, she explained a little bit more. And she's like, I'm just sorry. And so she apologizes on her daughter's behalf, and I tell her, I'm like, you don't have anything to be sorry about. It's between me and your daughter. And she's like, but my daughter's my responsibility. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because that sounded really stupid arguing with her about it. Like, okay, whatever. And so she tells me that she wants to take me and her daughter out and like have lunch and like talk about why we resort to violence. And I'm like, okay. I was so terrified, you guys, like so terrified. I didn't even want to go on the date because for what? Like, like for what? And I really hated the way how she was talking to me. Like, I just didn't like it. Like, even though she was cool at times, I just didn't like how her approach was. Like, I didn't like it. Like, she gave me the vibes of like, you're not wrong, but I just don't like you. And I don't know, I just didn't like it. So she asks me if I want to go with them tomorrow, and I am like, I don't know what me and it smells good. Baltimore have planned. And she's like, you in Baltimore? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, just tell Mrs. Peach and let me know. And I'm like, okay. I go back inside and Baltimore is ready to go. Like, she's ready. And she tells me like, ¿estás lista? And I'm like, yes, which means like, are you ready? And I'm like, yes. So I tell the kids bye, and Mr. Peach says that he's gonna come by later to take some of my stuff. And I'm like, oh, I could take it. I could just take it now. He's like, I don't want you to go upstairs. I'll take it later. Just having a reason to go so he can see Baltimore. Like, bitch, don't make it seem like you're doing me a favor. You're doing your pito a favor, okay? Bye. So I'm like, okay. So we go outside, and Baltimore asks me, like, what did she say? And I tell her pretty much everything she said. And she's like, are you gonna go? And I'm like, I don't want to. She's like, then say that. And I'm like, can I say that? She's like, why wouldn't you be able to? And I'm like, because you guys made me talk to her after I told you I didn't want to talk to her. And she's like, yeah, you don't have to go out to eat unless you want to. And I'm like, I don't want to. And she's like, why are you so scared of her? And I don't know why, you guys. I don't know. Like, but I would freak out. Like, my vibe would freak out around her. She was cool. I just don't know why, like, my body was like freaking out. Like, it didn't feel safe. It was so weird, like, in that moment, you know? So we go back home, and we're like cleaning, talking, seeing what we can do. She was just as bored as I was. And we're literally just sitting there, and then a couple of like hours pass by. There's a knock at the door, and it's Mr. Peach, and he has Sam. So I was very surprised. I was like, oh, because I really thought it was just gonna be him. So he comes to the door, and he has like some of my stuff. And I tell him like, oh, okay, thank you. And he comes in. Baltimore tells me and Sam that like we can like, you know, that it's adult conversation. And we're like, okay, whatever. So as I am going into like the other room, Sam asks me like if I'm good. And I tell her, I'm like, why do you care? You fake as hell. And we kind of go back and forth being like, you know, snippy with each other. She's like, how? Just because like I don't want to talk to you, and like I missed Stitch and stuff, like I don't have to be like up your ass. And I was telling her like, no, you're fake as fuck. When you're around my friends, I make sure that you feel included. And she's just not getting it. And she's like, I don't understand. Like, so you telling me like I have to talk to you? Like, I don't have to talk to you. And I'm like, wow, it just sucks that you just don't get it. I'm like, you don't have to talk to me. It's like how you move. And she's like, you're very childish. I'm like, I'm not. Like, I just would appreciate it if you just like act normal. She's like, I am acting normal. And I told her, I'm like, okay, like you're not going to like it when it's done back to you. And she's like, and who's to say that you're going to be around long enough? I'm like, okay. And I just stay quiet because I'm like, and she asks me, so how are you and your ex? I'm like, why do you care? And she's like, I don't. And it just gets kind of quiet, and it gets kind of awkward. Then she finally blurts out, so why'd you piss yourself? I knew that Baltimore was going to run her mouth, but I just hated how they were so messy about it. So messy about it. And it made me feel so like gross, because nothing ever was safe. Like nothing could ever happen, but like if it was them, we had to keep it on locks. And it just made me feel just like gross. And I tell her like, I don't know. And she's like, what do you mean you don't know? So you like always pissed about it? And I'm like, no, I don't. it usually like happens like when something bad happens. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know, like it just happens when something bad happens. I didn't want to go into detail with her because like, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you for me to be like, oh yeah, and this, like, because you can keep a secret, like, you dirty bitch, like, who the fuck are you? So I just tell her, I'm like, it's none of your business, Sam. And she's like, I have like so many problems. Like, I don't remember like the last time I pissed the bed. But we just stay quiet, and I'm like so freaking mad. So I started texting one of my friends, and I'm like, yo, I really hate working for this family. Like, and I told her, like, I peed the bed, I'm so embarrassed, and she over here running her mouth, and like the stupid bitch is in my face about it, and I'm so mad. So I'm like cussing, calling like everybody like all the bad names, like this person, this freaking child, like, you know, this person, that person, this and this, that, just like saying like every single thing. The other friends write me back and was like, yeah, F them, like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, that if I have like an infection or anything like down there. And I'm like, no, like it just happens, you know. I'm like going, you know, talking to her about it, and I'm like telling her like, I'm so embarrassed, like I really hate these people, and I can't wait till my mom gets out. And I was like, and it's just like in a weird way, and I'm telling this friend like in a weird way though, like I don't want me not to be like, I don't want to like lose them either, you know. It's so like weird, and you think like, why, like it's such a bad place. It is, but you get so used to like that toxic that you are okay with it. I'm quiet, and Sam is just like, so you're like not gonna talk to me, like why am I here? And I'm like, I don't know, like why'd you come, like I wasn't asking for you. And she like told me and stuff because like she like wanted to check up on me, and I'm like, what do you know that I don't know? Like why do you keep asking me? Like it's so weird. And she was telling me that it's because that when I took off and stuff, like Baltimore was really freaking out, and just how I came back the next day and like I knocked out and stuff, like what happened, like what's going on. And so like they thought like I have a drug problem. I kind of chuckle, and I'm like, no, if anything, like I drink sometimes but not all the time, but I don't have a drug problem. And I just like laugh, and she gets annoyed with me laughing, and it makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, isn't that funny how you and that stupid bitch were laughing it up, but as soon as I laugh, it's not funny. She's wanting me to like just spill info to her, and like gets annoyed that like I don't want to sit here and open up and like tell her everything. And so I tell her, I don't gotta tell you anything, Sam. Like that's like the difference between me and you. Like I know where I stand, and like you don't. Pretty much telling her like to mind her business, that no, I don't do drugs, and that if I did, it still wouldn't be her business. And she's like, why wouldn't it be my business? I'm like, because it wouldn't. And out of us both, I'm like, I don't experiment like that, but we know you do. So there's a lot that I don't say that Sam has done. I hated how she acted like, what? Never me. And it's like, dude, like worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. Like I don't know why you're over here bugging me or want to be nosy. And it's not like if she cares, it's just because she's nosy, and Peach probably told her like, hey, go talk to her, go see this, but they don't care. Like it's one thing if you care, but you just want to be nosy. You don't care. Again, guys, this foundation looks so freaking nice, like so nice. So we're just sitting in silence, like literally just like sitting in silence, and I'm trying so hard not to answer any of her stupid questions that she might want to ask me and be like, oh, what this, what that. Like she is really like trying to talk to me, and I'm like getting annoyed. So my phone rings, and I answer it, and it's from like an unknown number. So I'm thinking like, oh, maybe it's my mom or one of my mom's like crackhead friends checking in with me. And so it is Nars, and she asks me, what time will I be ready? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be busy with Baltimore tomorrow. She's like, no, you're not. I already talked to Baltimore, and she said that you would be ready to go. And she's like, yeah, you don't have to go out to eat unless you want to. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to go. And she's like, then why don't you just say that? Why do you try and put the blame on somebody else? And I'm like, because I feel uncomfortable. She's like, why do you feel uncomfortable? So she starts scolding me about like why I feel uncomfortable and why I'm trying to place blame on somebody else and like lie to her, and that she doesn't like that I'm lying. And I apologize. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. It's just I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to go out. And Sam is like laughing in the background, which is so annoying because Nars was thinking that I was laughing with Sam, but I wasn't. And I had to tell Sam like to shut up. I'm like, can you shut up? I'm trying to talk to Nars. And Nars was telling me that if I wanted to go again or not, and that I can even have Sam there, like if it meant something. And I'm like, no, I just don't feel comfortable. And she's like, okay, well, what if I bring the food over there and we can talk over there? And I'm like, okay, yeah. So that was the plan, because I did not feel comfortable, you guys. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's me being dramatic because I already had went out to eat with her, but I just did not feel comfortable going again. And this time it be because like of like us fighting again. I get off the phone and Sam's like, wow, you're so dramatic. Like, why are you acting like you're so scared of her? And I'm like, I don't know, like, she just scares me. I shouldn't have said anything, but Sam would not shut up. But I said it. I was like, I don't know, she just scares me. She's like, why does she scare you? I'm like, I don't know, like, she just scares me. Like, I feel uncomfortable around her. She's like, is that why you peed yourself? And I'm like, no, like, that's not why I peed myself. Like, it's usually when something bad happens. And she wasn't trying to pick up what I was putting down, you know? I'm not saying that Mr. Peach did that. I'm saying, like, something triggered that feeling. And so she was like, why are you so weird? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, you think I want this? You think I want to feel weird? You don't think I want to have like a normal life like you? And she's like, my life is far from being perfect. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this back and forth. Have you ever just told someone, like, stop talking to me? Like, I don't want to hear you anymore. Stop talking to me, please. So I tell her, I'm like, Sam, can we just like stop talking? Like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And she like tells me, like, you're a fucking bitch. And I'm like, okay, I can accept that. Like, I'm a fucking bitch. Can you stop talking to me now? Because I didn't want to talk to her, y'all. Like, I didn't. Like, there was nothing to at all. So Mr. Peach ends up calling Sam, and he's like, let's go. And Sam goes, and they leave. Baltimore asks me if I'm hungry, if I wanted to get something really quick from somewhere, and I'm like, sure. So me and her go and get something to eat. We're eating, and she tells me that how come I tried to blame her about not wanting to go. And I kind of laugh, and I tell her, like, yeah, sorry, it's because I don't want to go, and I thought you were going to cover for me. And she's like, why would I cover for you? And I tell her, because like I do the same for you sometimes. And she kind of just got quiet, and she's like, Alexis, you need to understand that you're the child and I'm the adult. And I'm like, okay. Because it's true. Sometimes I would think where these adults would tell me so much that we were on the same level, and we weren't. And I had to constantly remind myself that I am the child and they are the adult. And just because they treat me like an adult sometimes and expect so much from me, at the end of the day, they are the adult and I am the child. So we go back home, and I knock out. I knock out, and I am freaking terrified of like waking up, and like I kept thinking like, well, tomorrow was gonna be like, bye, you guys can talk, I'm gonna leave. I don't know what I kept thinking, and it sucked because I didn't have that reassurance from Baltimore of like, everything's gonna be okay, like nothing's gonna happen. Like, I wanted it to come out of their mouth, like, nothing is going to happen to you. We will not let her do anything to you. But I knew that like if I asked for that, they weren't gonna give me that. And what really pissed me off is that I really craved that from them, because like my mom, when I would freak out at times when she was out, she would like tell me like, it's going to be okay, Lex, like it's going to be fine. Like there would be times where like I would freak out even about going to school, because like I would miss so much school. And when my mom would take me, I'd be like, I can't. And my mom wouldn't take me. And she'd be like, it's okay, like it's fine. And like, even though like that might have been bad, like my mom understood like my anxiety, or me thinking like this isn't real. Like my mom would calm me down and be like, it's okay if it's not, like, but we're like, you have us. And like she would calm me down, you know. And she understood like my weirdness, because like my mom would freak out when she was a child and stuff. And so I was really like wanting that reassurance from them, and I wanted them to be like, it's gonna be okay. But like I knew that they didn't care about me enough, and they liked me squirming and being scared, because Baltimore kept making the joke of like, I'm gonna leave, you're gonna be all alone in the house. And then I'd be like, I'm just playing. And like it really pissed me off that like she knew I was scared. Or like ever since like I, you know, wet myself in the bed and stuff, she'd make her comments of like I needed like adult diapers and stuff. And it was just like very rude, and she didn't make me feel comfortable at all. Like I felt extremely, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted them to tell me like it was going to be okay. I wanted them to be on my side and be like, you didn't do anything wrong. But they really were upset that like I put my hands on Stitch, even though she hit me. They were just like, you should have just waited until we got back home. And like in my brain, I was like, you guys shouldn't have left us alone. Like, what's wrong with you guys? Like, you guys wanted something to happen. Like they both knew that like we were crazy and like we like to fight. So like, why would you leave two hotheads home alone? Like, it doesn't make sense. And so it really like messed with me like a lot and caused like a lot of anxiety. Sorry guys, I keep touching that. A lot of anxiety because I just wanted that comfort of them to tell me like, you didn't do anything wrong, like you're good, you know? But they did not want to give it to me. They did not. So that morning I just got up, make sure everything was good, cleaned, and Nars writes me like, are you ready? I said, for what? Because didn't we agree? This foundation I need to use more because it is so pretty. Oh my god. Like I'm going to be using it every day because it is absolutely beautiful. Like look at that. I don't use filters on my videos, so what you see is what you get in person. Look how beautiful this looks. Oh my god, it looks absolutely beautiful. She replies back and she says, are you kidding me? And I'm like, no, like what am I, like I thought you were coming here. And she says, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, oh, okay, well that's not what you said. You said you ready, like if I was going to leave with you. And she just said, okay, like just short, okay. And maybe I was being a pain in the butt, you guys, but honestly, that's what that's what I got from it. Like, you ready? I don't know. Maybe I was just overthinking it because she literally made me like have diarrhea issues because she like scared me for some reason. I don't know why. So anyways, I make sure everything's clean. I get a call from Nars. I answer it. She asks me what I want to eat. And I tell her, oh, like I'll have anything, like it's fine, like whatever you guys get, I'll order and I'll have two. She tells me like, can you just tell me what you want? And I tell her like, I'm not really picky, like I'm really not, like I'll eat like whatever. She sighs and she just hangs up. No, like, okay, bye. She just hangs up. I'm like, okay, she's annoyed. So we hear a knock at the door. Baltimore answers it and it's Nars and it is Stitch. Stitch and I both look like some crazy like hoodlums because it looked bad. Like I didn't like how she looked. She didn't like how I looked. I'm thinking because I could just see how her face looked. Like it just looked like she felt bad for me. So we sat at the table. Tell me why Baltimore grabs her purse like if she's about to dip. Oh, you guys. And where I was like scared for I don't know what reason, she grabs her purse, okay? And she's like, bye. Acts like she's gonna open the door. And I literally get up too. I get like this because like I'm going with you too. And then she's like, just kidding. And Nars looks at her like, what a weirdo, right? I got scared. It reminded me of that. I told you guys a story time about a long time ago how this girl in elementary, she was such a bitch. I literally was like so like anxiety, and I would follow her everywhere. When we were eating one time, she got up. She's like, watch this, you guys. She got up, I got up too, and I was like, oh my god, so embarrassed. And I was like eating my food to the trash can because I was still hungry. That bitch, I know you still watch me because she'd be like, can you do my makeup? No bitch, I can't. Anyways, I get all, and then Nars looks at me and I kind of just like, huh. And she tells me like, there's no reason to be nervous, that she's just here to talk. So Stitch starts and she says that she wants to apologize. I interrupt her and I'm like, I'm sorry too. Nars tells me not to interrupt her, that to let her finish. And I'm like, okay. But I was just like really nervous. So she's just pretty much apologizing to me, telling me that she really is sorry. She was crying where she felt uncomfortable. And I started crying because I felt uncomfortable too. Like it was just such a weird bonding situation, and we just both apologized and we actually started talking, and it kind of like she was pretty cool, and she was like telling me that the reason why she didn't really like me is because Sam was telling her like all this stuff about me, so she just thought like from the jump that like I was just like problems. And I was like, oh no, like her and I are usually like somewhat cool. So we just started talking to the point like I didn't even notice that like Nars disappeared, so her and Baltimore were like talking somewhere else, and me and Stitch were just like chilling, like we were just talking, and she was just telling me that like I seem really cool, and I'm like, bitch, I am cool. She's like, well, obviously. And so we were just like getting along. It was pretty cool. Like we just talked it out, and it was just like a huge like misunderstanding. She had attitude, I had an attitude. She had crazy mama, I had crazy mama. And yeah, so we were just like talking, laughing, and it was like really cool. And I really liked that Nars made us talk it out. I don't know why I was so scared, y'all. Like it was like really bad, like how scared I was. And it made sense why Sam wanted to play cool with me and like talk to me, was because she probably knew that me and Stitch were going to end up vibing and she was going to be left. And that's exactly what happened. It's really cool. Like we did have our little moments here and there again, but she was like, overall, she was pretty all right. You could tell like she was sorry because she kept saying it. Like we were like talking, and I would catch her like really looking at me, and she would like apologize. And it's very rare when you get those apologies and have someone be like really sorry, and it's really rare when someone just like admires you like that. Like I have a friend and we were painting, and it was so like very sweet. We were painting, I was like ah, ha, ha, ha. And she just looks at me and she just like tells me like how grateful she is to have me as a friend. And like it was really sweet, because I was like, thank you, bitch, I love you too, you know. And it's very rare to have those moments. So when Stitch and I were talking, and I kind of caught her like looking at me, she was just like, I really am sorry, you know. And I was telling her like, yeah, me too. And she said that like she did get scared about the phone, like she really thought it was gonna like fly over my head, but then just going, and she's like, and that's when I knew like I fucked, like the fuck you did. So it was really cool to like be able to like bullshit and talk with her in that moment about like what had happened, because I was like so freaked out, you guys. So much was going on. I had went crazy and was like hanging out with that girl and hanging out with Matt, and then like the Wet n Wild situation and all of that, then my guardian angel, and then my mom, and then Tommy. Like I was constantly, it constantly felt like it was like a freaking like, and then when I did have time where it's like nothing was happening, I felt like, oh my God, something's going to happen. Oh my God, something's going to happen. But it was just a normal day. It's just a normal day. Like, it's okay. And I think I was so scared of NARS is because I really did think that she was going to beat my ass. And I never really had like an adult be like, no, we're going to talk this out. Like, we're going to talk this out. Like, she was not letting me get out of it. Even like I was like so uncomfortable, she was like not letting me get out of it. And she was like, no, like we're going to talk about this. And I wasn't really used to that. I was so used to like the toxic adults. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching my story time. I hope you guys enjoyed today's makeup look. I really like it. I always go to these tones that make me really happy. There's just something about these where I'm like, yes, bitch, yes. I like it. If you guys enjoy story times, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to be notified, and leave a comment down below so you guys can possibly be my next notification shout out. Thumbsing up the videos really do help me out, you guys. So I really appreciate it when you guys take the time to like it and share it and comment and all of that. It seriously means so much to me. Te quiero mucho, you guys. Besos a todos, and I'll see you guys in my next story time. Bye.